Anybody wondering why every disagreement feels like a battle these days? Or why the world feels so polarized? How about what happens when we each commit to staying curious rather than becoming certain and competitive? I'll be talking about this and more on this week's episode of Our Waking Dream. Thank you for being here. My name's Coco Swanson. I'm an executive mentor, a spiritual strategist. I look at how systems change when we change from the inside out. I help systems mirror that change from the outside in people's lives, relationships, and businesses. Over on my site, there's a whole bunch of other offerings. So there's a leadership studio, there's mentorship options, there's a free solutions lab. I've got all the links below. So if you're curious about Coco Swanson land, I'm here for you. Okay, this said, each week on this show, I go over one basic astrology theme. The basic astrology theme this week I'll be talking about is a larger generational shift. And essentially with astrology, I talk about metaphor. It's living metaphor. It's how the metaphors of each planet and what they represent, when they're in certain zodiac signs and what those signs represent, how it impacts us emotionally, mentally, what we attract and what we repel. It's all connected. So I come here each week to help connect the dots, using astrology as a map because it's bizarrely accurate. And then from there, I matchmake practices from the well of practices that I've established over the last 3 decades in this field. So this said, the first part, astrology, second part, the practices. If you're new to astrology, let it be a wash. Each week you come back for another wash, and over time you get it. At least that's what happened to me. Let me know what happens to you. Okay, this said, let's talk about Uranus conjunct Mars in Gemini from July 3rd through 5th. Uranus is a planet of revelation, awakening, lightning bolt awakening. Like we can't unsee something that Uranus points out. It's in the new parts. It's just entered Gemini recently, right? It'll be there for 7 years. Mars is coming to join it. Mars is a planet of war. Mars is a planet of action, of fierceness. It's a masculine planet that has to do with go, right? It's the go button. It's how we are in action. Well, when it comes and conjuncts, which means it's touching, it's in the same spot in the sky as Uranus, there's sometimes a rude awakening in kind of a feisty way around whatever they're pointing at, which is the 3rd degree of Gemini. It's at the beginning of the sign. There are 29 degrees in each sign. So when something is illuminated at the beginning of its journey through a zodiac sign, which is going on, it illuminates the underbelly, the shadow, that which needs adjustment in order to be in greater alignment. So it can be kind of ouchy. Okay, at the same time, we have all the outer planets have changed signs recently. And what that means is there's a generational change that we're all amidst right now. We're at the beginning of it. Pluto changes signs about every 20 years. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius, and it's in a trine to Uranus and over July 3rd through 5th to Mars. Trines are fantastic in the sense that they're more harmonious than, say, a square. So we love this. We love that Uranus is trining Pluto because it creates a gentle investigation of what both Pluto, Uranus, and Mars are illuminating. And Uranus is in sextile to Neptune that just changed signs into Aries. Also, gentle, harmonious relationship. So when big outer planets change signs, it's a generational shift, and it takes place over years. The first years of, say, a Pluto or a Neptune transit, those are long, long ones. Uranus is 7 years. That seems like nothing in comparison to the 20-year transit that Pluto's on in Aquarius. So this said, we have a time to peacefully, although we've got Mars in the mix, so it might not feel that peaceful, but we can harmoniously excavate the themes going on. Let's talk about the themes. I'll break it down into simple themes because there's so many planets and signs that I'm talking about. Sometimes I can really dive into one planet and one sign if that's all we're focusing on that week. This week we're going to distill the Cliff Note version so we can synthesize more information. So Pluto in Aquarius is ultimately who are we all becoming together in a greater community with technology. We the people for the people. Aquarius. So Pluto, who are we becoming? Then we've got Neptune freshly in Aries, which is who am I becoming? So we have the we, the collective with Pluto and Aquarius. And we have I, me or you, in with the Neptune in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's all about me. We need to know who we are. I need to know who I am and how I work in order to know how I get along socially, which is Uranus in Gemini. Gemini is how do we talk to each other? How do we make meaning out of our shared experiences? Where is there dissonance in how we're creating shared meaning that doesn't allow us all to get along? That'd be one question that we'd ask. So again, we have a harmonious relationship right now in this window where, and the longer windows, the outer planets move slowly. Mars is just illuminating it, this trine and sextile for a couple days, really. I mean, that's the transit's a shorter transit, that it's conjunct Uranus. But over this summer, we're really looking at the harmonious relationship with who are we becoming as individuals, what sort of rottenness is being exposed as how we are in relationship with each other and collectively, and how we can start to explore each of those and how they all work together. To break down questions for your journal, essentially step 1, I always offer each week are inquiry questions to bring to your conversations to either yourself or your community. So Pluto and Aquarius, how can we peacefully get along? All of us. How can we peacefully live and work together? Where are you building bridges? And where are you not? Where are you contributing to division, polarization? And what values feel important to protect in your relationships? Neptune in Aries. What identities have you outgrown? And who are you becoming? And what would change if you trusted you? What would change in your life? These are Neptune and Aries questions, right? So we've got Pluto and Aquarius, Neptune and Aries in relation to Uranus and Gemini. So Uranus and Gemini is about what conversations feel like a battlefield. Like, where is there a lot of gossip? And where are we choosing sides? And how can I see more sides to a situation? How can I widen my perspective on any situation? It's Uranus in Gemini is looking at how we can stay curious. And I'd say, and we add the word "and." So this is my experience, and there's room for your experience. But in order to do that, we have to have a shared space where we are not going into immediate arguing, but we're creating space for different perspectives all in one experience, that's a different practice than we're practicing especially like at a global level. Practice number 2 I suggest is trigger protocol. And trigger protocol is something I suggest for this week and all weeks on planet Earth. So we can turn conflict into curriculum when we start to own our own bias and our own emotional baggage. If we all start to own our bias and emotional baggage, conflict would turn into curriculum really quick like. So how do we do that? First, we have to know what it feels like to have our own emotional baggage triggered. What does that feel like for you? For me, it's as simple as any time my emotions shift from yay to nay. Really, that means my emotional body's been triggered. And because I'm human, and I've lived, 47 years now in this body, I come with the baggage, the cellular baggage, the memory of emotions is stored in our bodies. So when I am in conflict, when you are in conflict, it's not just us in this current moment. It's every conflict we've experienced. And emotional contagions travel intergenerationally. It's everything that we've experienced that our parents experienced too. So step 1 in a trigger protocol is simply to commit to noticing, to slowing things down enough to have one breath between an emotional reaction and our action. And if we widen the space between our reaction and our action, that creates more malleability of our emotional landscape. Step 1, you notice. Notice when you have an emotional trigger. What does it feel like? So do you feel more defensive? Do you feel more rigid? Do you feel angry? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel more certain? Get to know your own emotional response when you're in trigger. Step 2, pause analysis. Anytime you're in trigger, this is way easier said than done. Heads up. What we do as humans when we're an emotional trigger, at least this is what I do and anyone I've talked to does, is that we usually start thinking faster. And not only that, but we enlist others to support our emotional stance. Well, that's great. However, what's the end goal? My end goal is to build bridges of interconnection within me. That means clearing out old emotional baggage, and to build bridges of interconnection between us, whoever we are in the moment. Me and a buddy, me and a colleague, me and a client, whatever it is. We're building bridges. So as soon as I get defensive, rigid, angry, certain, as soon as I'm triggered, then my brain is being fed by the biochemistry of defense, of blame, of creating meaning that's associated with the negative emotions that I'm triggered. Why do we want to do that? I don't want to do that. I want to be having thoughts about whatever that are triggered by love, by wisdom, by forgiveness, by building bridges versus dividing. How about you? So I have power within that. You have power within that. With a little trigger protocol, we can start to unpack conflict as a growth opportunity rather than a divisive agent. So step 1, you notice your trigger. When you shift from feeling good to feeling gross, that's a trigger. What's it feel like in your body? Step 2, you drop analysis. Way easier said than done again. Practice dropping analysis when you're in trigger. No brain, just noticing what it's like in your body. And then step 3, you clear. There are so many ways to clear. One of my favorite ways, though, is simply by saying, I clear. And then I breathe and feel what it feels like to clear an emotion, to clear a thought. I clear, and you can name, I clear my anger, or I clear my perspective of, and then you fill in the blank. Then you clear it through your form, through your body. You move, you breathe, you be, and then return. Return to the thought and be curious about how your emotional landscape has changed. If we start doing this together, conflict can't help but turn into curriculum that allows us to become closer to ourselves, to clear out our old emotions, and to become more co-creative together. Okay, practice number 3, conflict is curriculum. Slow is the fastest way there. This is done with someone. So you choose to commit to practice something different when you're in conflict with whomever you're doing this with. So share this. Essentially, conflict reveals our assumptions, our fears, our expectations, our unmet needs, our blind spots. I would love to have all of those gently revealed to me. How about you? What if how we are in conflict can shift into a safe place for us to understand our own bias and fear and expectations more? What if conflict becomes a tool to start to understand each other more? How do we do this? 1, we choose to do it together. We slow down. As soon as there's conflictual energy, we choose to slow down. We have to name it. I just felt the vibe. I just got triggered. Did you? Can we slow down? Then ask yourself, am I ready for information that will shift my perspective? Am I available to be curious? If the answer is no, then pause, take a break, and press play to the rest of this exercise. Once you clear your space, go for a walk, go to a yoga class, dance, cry, move the energy until you can start to be more curious about another's perspective. I think it's pointless to talk, because then we're just digging our heels in and becoming more stubborn in our bias. Okay, once you're ready to be curious though, then you and your buddy you're practicing this with, you take turns. Take turns listening, and you're observing your response to listening. Are you coming back with your response next? If so, that's not what we're after. This is a style of listening that allows for me to say, tell me more. Your perspective is just as valid as mine. Tell me more. So you practice that, the tell me more. And you practice, am I hearing you right? and repeat back what the other person's saying. Because a lot of our conflicts get bound and then we create division in misinterpretations of each other. It's just a bummer, right? So then you swap. You say, okay, now I'm going to listen. Let me become more curious. Am I able to become curious? Am I able to see and listen to this person's perspective and respect it as just as valid as mine? If so, you keep listening. Tell me more. Tell me more. Because as we start to treat conflict as curriculum and choose to slow down together, to own our own trigger, to take space when we need to clear our emotional baggage that's been triggered, then to come back and listen slowly with the goal to truly understand, to respect and understand the other's perspective. We switch, we have space held for us, and bridges can't help but be built. Paths to shared meaning and understanding come naturally. So it's conflict as curriculum, slow is the fastest way there, owning our own triggers and being aware of when we become certain and rigid versus open and curious. That's practice number 3. Okay, y'all, I'm curious how this is landing for you. Please feel free to direct message me at this point. This is just growing. So please share, review, tell me how it's going for you. And until next week, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being a part of our community here at Our Waking Dream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Fill my cup and let it overflow. Let it overflow with love.